Every day, Russian forces launched attacks on Ukrainian positions, suffering heavy losses. Sometimes they gained ground, but this time, their efforts were met with unexpected resistance. Armed and ready, they had no idea what awaited them. Here's what happened next. The Russian APC tried to evade a drone for several moments, desperately maneuvering across the field, but it couldn't outrun the FPV, which was quicker on its tail. As it attempted to navigate past a cluster of trees, two other APCs came into view on the nearby road, but they miscalculated the timing and were hit almost simultaneously. The first vehicle endured a heavy blow, and flames began to engulf it, signaling its eventual destruction. The second APC, though damaged and smoking, appeared to still be intact enough to salvage. However, it wasn't left unguarded for long. A follow-up strike landed, but it wasn't enough to finish it off. This vehicle's added armor seemed to offer some protection. Still, luck wasn't on its side for long. Ukrainian forces, prepared for this exact scenario, had another drone in reserve. The third hit was the final blow, ensuring the destruction of both APCs. With the task completed, the Ukrainian drone operators swiftly shifted their attention to new targets, further neutralizing the Russian threat. A Russian self-propelled artillery system mistakenly veered into the path of a drone. With one precise strike, the vehicle's ammunition exploded, transforming the artillery piece into a wreck. Tanks, however, proved tougher, requiring more force to bring down. The first strike damaged the tracks, but it was the following two drones that did the real damage. After a brief delay, the fire reached the ammo, causing a massive explosion. The result was as catastrophic as a truck packed with explosives. Another FPV unit locked onto a Russian tank as it moved across the battlefield. The first strike caused some damage, but it wasn't enough to take it out. The crew quickly abandoned the tank and ran for cover. Moments later, a second drone hit the vehicle, causing the tank's armor to give way. Flames erupted, eventually reaching the fuel tank, and the fire spread rapidly. In this footage, we witness an ironic situation. A Russian tank and an APC seemed to clash on a narrow road. The tank nearly fired on its own ally, but managed to avoid hitting it. Initially confident, the tank quickly realized its mistake. After a drone strike, the armored vehicle halted, and its crew fled into the woods, abandoning the vehicle. The tank kept moving, but another FPV drone quickly targeted and destroyed it. The operator made a precise strike, and flames soon engulfed the tank. Meanwhile, the APC was not spared either. A kamikaze drone struck it first, preventing the remaining crew from returning. A second drone sealed its fate. This approach proved effective for stationary targets, but Russian forces are facing relentless pressure, not just in Donetsk. Another APC was left behind by the Russians in a wooded area, possibly with the intention of later using it, but that won't be the case. A single accurate strike was enough to destroy the vehicle. It could have been a lucky shot, or the destruction might have been due to a drone strike, as the vehicle lacked extra protection. As seen in various other videos, additional armor frequently helps vehicles withstand multiple drone hits. In most cases, when an armored vehicle or tank faces a heavy drone strike, it's uncommon for it to remain in one piece on the battlefield. However, adding extra armor provides the crew with more time to at least evacuate the vehicle after the initial impact and stay alive. In Kharkiv, the Ukrainian forces must exert their utmost to repel the enemy, who vastly outnumbers them in both personnel and resources. Using javelins, drones, and strategically placed mines, the 3rd Assault Brigade of the Ukrainian Army successfully took out over 20 pieces of military equipment near the remains of a demolished farm. We frequently come across footage where drone operators target an open hatch of a vehicle, typically because the crew has already evacuated in haste and didn't have time to shut the hatch in their panic. This group of vehicles also fell victim to panic and disorganization. A few armored vehicles initially struggled to pass each other on the road, then rapidly fled in a disordered fashion. Their attempt to escape was brief. The Ukrainian forces remained composed and methodical, taking out the first APC, followed by the second, and soon after, they used a drone to track down and eliminate a third one. This video captures another instance of panic, or perhaps sheer negligence. The tank drove straight into a crater from a shell explosion without making any effort to dodge it. It's likely they either didn't see it and kept going down the road, or believed they could easily cross over it. The soldiers soon realized their vehicle was stuck and fled as fast as they could. The Ukrainian pilots, however, didn't have to wait long. A tank is a prime target, particularly when it has become immobilized. Prior to the attack, the Russians launched Grad MLRS rockets at Ukrainian positions. The Ukrainian soldiers weren't willing to withstand such assaults. They deployed an FPV drone to take out the launcher identified by reconnaissance. The resulting explosion was dramatic. Magyar Birds is one of the most skilled Ukrainian drone units, as demonstrated in the footage below. A convoy of tanks and armored vehicles attempted to break through to Ukrainian defenses, and some even managed to avoid artillery fire. However, the closer they got to the Ukrainian positions, the more tempting a target they became for FPV drone operators. While one group works to catch up with and strike the advancing enemy vehicles, another focuses on finishing off the already damaged and immobilized APCs and tanks to eliminate the threat completely. Even if the equipment is still functional, it may have been abandoned in panic, so it's crucial to ensure the Russians can't use it again. Additionally, when the equipment is stationary, kamikaze drone operators can target its weakest point, causing significant damage and a powerful explosion. Due to a lack of military vehicles, the Russians frequently adapt standard civilian vehicles for battlefield tasks, such as transporting ammunition. It's difficult to determine exactly what the vehicle is carrying before the kamikaze drone strikes, but if it's carrying explosives, the drone operators watching the scene are in for quite a spectacle. However, even if the explosion isn't as dramatic, it doesn't mean the drone's strike was in vain. Every enemy unit destroyed represents, above all, a life saved for the Ukrainians. 2 Russian trucks relied on their speed to outrun potential threats. The first was destroyed almost instantly, while the second, after being hit by a drone, made a full turn and tried to flee. However, it was already too late. On January 8th and 9th, Russian forces attempted to breach Ukrainian defensive lines, showing little regard for the lives of their soldiers or their equipment. Even for a nation as large as the Russian Federation, such heavy losses while trying to capture a small area are unacceptable. However, it seems that following orders from their commander was prioritized above all else. Despite the disastrous consequences, this location became a graveyard for Russian military assets. The few surviving soldiers sought refuge in the ruins of a nearby farm, but they quickly fell into another trap. It's possible that Russian intelligence misjudged the Ukrainian forces in that area, but regardless, the assault ended in total failure. But did this stop the Russians? Of course not. The next day, they attacked from 4 directions, only to face the same fate. Every inch of this land is defended with precision strikes and relentless resistance. Burnt-out tanks and abandoned vehicles now mark yet another failed assault. Yet, despite their losses, they keep coming, only to be stopped again.